Welcome to the Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, the Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you.
In the house behind, the life you find is something understood.
A dream can be meaningful, even if you don't know what it means. Today's music is called Neothermal, and we have the guest Amy Barnes on the background music again today. Today we speak with poet Renzo Del Castillo, building connections and empathy through creation, art, integrity, and love. Author of award-winning best-selling debut poetry book, Still. And there's Amy. Beautiful. I am your host, Katherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. We are also a weekly podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps teach the algorithm that people care about dreams. But most importantly, tell your friends. It's getting conversations started about dreams. That's the main mission of this show. And so let your folks know about this podcast you listen to. You can find archives at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those good places. Also, ksqd.org/the-dream-journal. ksqd.org, the Dream Journal. 269 shows, I do believe, at this point. My goodness. All right, well, I'm going to just start with just a moment of my personal dream work because I had a dream about my father. I don't dream about him very often. He passed away last fall, and in this dream, I'm having kind of one of my frantic moments. Everyone knows about my frantic moments. And I'm worried about the car. Are we running out of gas? And then I look up, and I see my dad is driving, and everything becomes fine. All of a sudden, everything is great. He's there driving, and I can go to sleep. And I do. In the dream, I go to sleep. And just something about trusting that and knowing that he's there. So thank you, Dad, for showing up in the dream. Welcome, Renzo. Hello. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Katherine. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you. Again, we've had some wonderful conversations already.
That's right.
So Renzo Del Castillo is a creative instigator and a community builder who bridges gaps and builds empathy through creation, art, integrity, and love. Born in Lima, Peru, he has spent the last 15 years as an executive in the healthcare industry, and he currently resides in Miami, but prioritizes travel. Renzo Del Castillo, and your webpage, renzodelcastillo.com. Hopefully I'm getting your name about right.
You're saying it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fantastic. So poetry, you have this new book that's just come out, award-winning book, best-selling Amazon book, and it's called Still. And I wanted to just go right to that. The book title itself is so evocative, the whole idea of still, and it kind of connects anyway with my dream. That's my understanding, is that it has to do with the process of grief. Maybe you could say a little bit more about what do you mean by still? Why would you call a book about poetry still? Right? Of
course. And I'm so glad you shared that dream that you had, because it's so pertinent, right?
Yep.
My father's birthday is July 30th. It's coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
And this book was actually published last year on July 30th on his birthday. I didn't plan it. It just ended up being that way.
Uh-huh.
And the reason the book is called Still, for two things. I think the first reason that it's called Still, in the last about 7 years, I was at a point where I thought life had stopped giving me things and started taking them away emotionally, logically.
Mm-hmm.
It's not true, right? Maybe like you and I hit it off and we become friends. It's a gift life has for us today,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, my father had passed away in 2020. My dog passed away after 14 years. The year before that, my grandmother a couple years before, my best friend's mom around the same time. My cousin, who was my age, and I can go on. A number of very important people had had died. Also, a relationship that I was in that I thought was going to turn into marriage ended around the time my dad passed away. So I was at a point where I was moving too fast to grieve. Right? I wasn't giving myself space. I wasn't dreaming, to bring it back to the subject of this podcast, of this radio show.
Yep.
I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't visualizing anything. I was just focusing on the future. I wasn't in the moment. So until I realized that in the way that I comb my hair, in the food that I eat, my favorite movies, my TV shows, those were shared with me by these people that I've named, by others that have loved me and that I've loved in my life. And I realized that I am an amalgamation of every little piece of everybody I've ever loved. And if that's the case, then they are still with me, the way your father is still with you, driving a car in the way that you do things, right?
Right.
They're with me. They're here. And also, I needed to stand still, right? Like a pond, to see my reflection, to process this grief. Because if not, it's going to come out like acne or shortness of breath or anything else if we don't allow ourselves that time for reflection, even while sleeping. So that's the reason I named the book Still.
Okay, so it's about slowing down enough to really be with the grief. And, and simultaneously, I'm really touched by what you say that we are made up of the pieces of the people we love, that the people we love are still with us, even if they've died. Because, I have these, dreams, and then there's a clock radio in my house, and there's like just my whole history, is so much it's an homage to my father, and that I went into the sciences on his approval, because I wanted I wanted his approval. I wanted to be a happy person like he was, and it turns out I'm not so good in the sciences. That was not my path ultimately, but he shaped my life, and so he's still with me. So that's very comforting to think about that. The people we all love are still with us.
Yeah, it's generational. Think about the recipe for chicken soup, if you eat chicken, right, that you use when you're sick, or how I learned how to tie a tie. These things are passed down generationally, I think.
Yes.
And they become part of the legacy that makes up us, right? Like, so,
Totally.
Yes, I'm an individual. I have my own thoughts, but I am also the product of my community, and that's why building community is so important for me.
Yeah. Well, I have one story about the generational thing, and then I want to get into community, which is my dad would always say, if your feet are cold, put on a hat. But actually what he would say is, my father would always say, if your feet are cold, put on a hat. And so now I say that, my father. It makes you think, how many generations back does that go? If your feet are cold, put on a hat. It's like father after father after father, just the generations that come forward, because of course it's not just the people we love, but the people that they loved too, and that they come from.
Exactly, and that comes from love. Why would he tell you that? Because he cares about your well-being, right? And that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. So let's talk about community. Say more about community and what you mean by being a community builder.
Sure. So I'm very active in the Miami poetry scene. I live in Miami, Florida. I'll give you an example. So last year I was in Dublin, in Ireland. And Dublin is a very famous literary city, right?
Yeah.
The city of Oscar Wilde, James Joyce, Seamus Heaney, Samuel Beckett, etc. And, I live in Miami, and Miami has a reputation for being young, maybe a bit materialistic. Some people may consider it superficial, but we are a center for Latin American, Caribbean, the entire world. Migrations, right? It passes through here. It's a port city. So that makes sense. And all the hot ticket items that are affecting us as a country, female reproductive rights, climate change legislation,
immigration,
immigration reform, right?
Yes.
All of that is happening here. So why not us? Well, there are people here that have a voice, that have something to say, that are witnessing this, that have a perspective. Why can't Miami be a place where we build a community to allow people from all different walks of life to have platforms to be able to express their truth?
So what kind of platforms are you talking about here? Now, like in person, you're talking about Miami specifically. Say a little more about that.
Person.
Yeah.
So think about book launches at local bookstores, or open mics, places where people can come and share the different type of work that they've been doing, whether it be in song, in spoken word, in a performance, podcasting, you right now are sharing your platform, and I'm
Yes.
very grateful with me to talk about the things that I want to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean. So I'll take a step back. For me, art is incredibly important because it creates an analytical relationship between yourself and an object, right? So what that does, by definition, it allows you to see things from different perspectives, and that prepares you for empathy. And in my view, empathy is one of our scarcest resources right now.
True.
In terms
Yes.
of being able to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and be able to see what they feel, their life experiences has created a perspective. So think about it in terms of dialectical realism, right? You have a thesis, an idea, and you are met with an opposing idea or an antithesis. Together, out of that conflict or merging, you get a synthesis, a new idea. If you and I, when we've talked before, I asked you this question, would we be able to dream of flight if we had never seen a bird? I don't know the answer to that, but I think there's something to explore there, right? At least be part of the discourse. And with that, the more experiences we have, the more birds we see, the more languages we speak, the more people we get to know, and we find that these complex issues that we're facing, we can try to solve them with 100% of what we have. But if we do it together, we do it with 1,000% of brain power, 2,000% of brain power, as opposed to what I could do alone. And I think that art is incredibly instrumental in that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. And I love your idea that if we had never seen a bird fly, would we even think about flying as humans? Like, do we, is it something we see contributes to our imagination, and then the art around it is like how you say that a relationship between a self and an object, like that brings in the real personal aspect of it. And so I'm thinking about something that we talked about before, having to do with travel. That travel is very broadening. People will say, to your emotions and to your waistline and all that. Just saying, having gotten back from Europe, I was like, whoa, okay. But there's
I have the opposite experience. I just walk around so much that I eat whatever I want. I'm very lucky in that sense.
Okay.
Europe is great for me in that sense.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So, but there's something that like meeting other people and seeing other cultures, and it can be like in our own community, meeting people of other cultures, or traveling in other places in the world. And where do we travel every night but in our dreams? And so is there something that, can we dream about something we've never seen before? Can we bring in imagination to the dreams?
Well, yeah. So I want to bring up an idea that you mentioned last time we spoke for your audience, so
Sure.
you weren't privy to the conversation. So I'll give you some context. But it kept me. I've been thinking about it ever since then, Katherine. And it's being an immigrant in your own dreams, right? Like being an immigration to a different place. So I'm an immigrant, right? My family immigrated here in 1989 from Peru, from Lima, Peru. But in our dreams, we are able to travel and become part of whatever dream community exists, whatever is in our heads that's trying to get out, or maybe we are connected to another dimension, realm, for lack of a better term, another form of reality. And through dreams, we are immigrants, right? And that has been spinning around in my head ever since you mentioned it.
Well, there's the kind of exotic things of out of body experiences and meeting entities from other realms, and that's an amazing thing to think about. And there's also this kind of more homespun idea of emigrant to ourself, to our own psyche, like the conscious mind or conscious thoughts have a certain tenor, and we have habits and familiarities with our thoughts, and yet the body is holding these things. Like you talked about grief, that if we don't really acknowledge our grief, that it might come out as acne or some breathing problem or cancer or some horrible thing like that. And so those things are waiting in our subconscious. They're there, and so maybe we could be an immigrant into our own self.
I think the way you mentioned it exactly was an immigrant in our own lives, right? If I remember it well. And dreams being this passport to that immigration, right? That visa to be able to explore it fully.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah, you've had me thinking for a while.
Well, and there's something that I always come back to with dreams is that most of the dreams we ever have, we don't remember. Like they're happening. Like this morning, I could pull in a few images from this morning's dreams, but there was so much more. And I know that there was many more dreams the night before. So there's something valuable about exploring things, even if we don't remember. Like, I was even listening to the radio show that came on before this one, and it happened to be a replay, and I remembered the replay, but I didn't remember all of it. There was like lots of things like, did I hear this before? I think I must have, but I don't remember this part at all. So like there's something that happens even on the subconscious level, just below the conscious level, that must be valuable. Otherwise dreaming wouldn't be a thing. People wouldn't be dreaming millions of years later. It wasn't something valuable about this exploration that goes on, whether we even remember it or not.
Yeah, and we can deconstruct that a bit further, right? So let's go back to the example of if I've never seen a bird,
Yeah.
and I dream of flight, right? So let's say we see a bird, and let's tie it to poetry, right? So you describe it, you write it down, but if you dream of flight, you're going to have those sensations of what it would be like, that empathy to put yourself in that bird's place, right? To put yourself in the sky. And what emotions would you have? In your dreams, you can feel that. You can feel that feeling in your stomach, right? And that's something then that you can take if you're able to remember it and recall it. You keep a dream journal, for example, or if you're better about recalling it than I am, because lately I'm not that skilled at remembering my dreams. And then you can write that down, and it's a completely different literary experience, and that's how it contributes to art and creativity, right? I think dreams, it makes us human. It gives us that specific experience to be able to tap into something greater than ourselves, and it enhances our creative output.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. What's coming to me is the idea of dreams as poetry. Like the dream itself is a kind of a poem. It's not like a prose statement saying X, Y, and Z, something, but it's more of a symbolic statement that that sort of suggests certain things. And like the flying in a dream has this feeling like you're talking about, and it can be related to a sense of freedom or a sense of, it also can be related to a sense of like distance, like distancing yourself from the ground or being ungrounded. So it doesn't necessarily have to be positive or negative, but the idea that dreams themselves are poems. Like, in fact, I've written poetry about my dreams, and I know a lot of poets who work directly from their dreams and take the images, and you don't need to understand the dream, but there's something meaningful, there's some sense of feeling in there, and there's some way that the dream itself can be, well, like I say at the top of the show, it can be meaningful without needing to know what it means. Like a poem can bring up a certain feeling the same way a dream does. And you may not understand exactly what either the poem or the dream means, and yet they're meaningful.
Yeah, it's an image, a feeling, a sentiment, and I think that's what makes something like poetry universal, depending on your ability to be able to understand the translation, et cetera, right? The delivery mechanism to you, but what you're left with is that feeling. Wasn't it Maya Angelou who said, like, you might not remember what people say, but you remember how they make you feel? I think that applies.
Yep. I think you're right.
That's a descriptor of dreams, right? Like I don't remember exactly what might have happened in a dream, but I remember how I feel in the morning when I wake up.
Absolutely. It's true. I think it's their feelings are a really important part about dreaming and about poetry. I mean, trying to think, are there poets who do not inspire feeling that have been, successful poets? It's like, seems like a lot of poetry is about inspiring feelings. What is your take on that? You're kind of late come to poetry, right? 15 years as an executive, right? And healthcare industry, and yet now you're a poet, or maybe as well. That's
well, not necessarily. I actually, I've been reading poetry my entire life. I learned how to read pretty early on, so my family really inculcated learning in me, and my grandmother, who was actually a university professor, started giving me like Pablo Neruda and like Cesar Vallejo and all these Hispanic poets when I was around 5-6 years old. So it was always part of me, but I didn't write poetry until late in high school when my cousin, the one that I mentioned, had passed away a couple of years ago. He was my age. We were a week apart. We grew up in the same crib, went to the same classes. We were both. He had a rap group called Soul What in high school, and one day.
Soul what? Like SOUL?
Soul, yeah, SOULWA. WHAT.
Silhouette. Oh, that's great. Okay.
Silhouette. Shout out to Silhouette.
Yeah.
Hans and Sammy, wherever you guys are. Much love to you guys. But so Pablo was my cousin's name. He told me, he's like, hey, dude, why don't you write poetry? And I'm like, me? No, I like reading it. No, and he's like, you're great at writing. You're great at communicating. Express yourself. So I started to. And in college, I went to UF, to the University of Florida, for aerospace engineering. They have a great program there. They still do. And but a couple of 6 credits short of graduating, I switched to poetry to the delight of my parents.
Oh,
that was not a great conversation over Thanksgiving.
I see.
Just a break. But I had never rebelled, Katherine. I was always the kid who did the right thing. So they kind of went along with it, but it comes from that love that we talked about, right? Some of that fear, like how are you going to feed yourself?
Yeah.
Also informed by that immigrant mentality, right? Like we came here, we struggled. You owe it to the generations that came before you to make something of the sacrifice. All of these themes that we've talked about were kind of encapsulated in that conversation. But I really, I was always fascinated with how things worked and taking them apart and putting them together. And then poetry showed me that I could just appreciate that they existed at all. And you mentioned, right, your history as a scientist and now with what you do, I think maybe that speaks to you, right? I still love the technical aspects, the logic aspects of engineering. I haven't left it, but I wanted to explore poetry and the appreciation and being in the moment, which I've always had trouble with. However, I applied to a program for grad school, a summer program to Cambridge, and got in, but I had political asylum. I didn't have my residency, and I'm 40 years old. So this was around 2005, 2006. That was after September 11th, and the immigration situation in the United States was a bit more elevated, a bit more heated at that time, right? It was up to the discretion of the immigration official at the gate if they would let you back in or not. And I knew 2 people that were deported. So my family, my mom and dad talked to me. They're like, hey, how about you finish here and do whatever you want? And I said, you know what, I understood. I didn't fight it, but I was heartbroken. I had dreams, for lack of a better term, of myself as a long-haired hippie in Cambridge writing, right? I just focused on, corporate America because corporate America was safety. I got into healthcare. In my opinion, this is my opinion, there are 2 industries that benefit from inefficiency in the United States: healthcare and law. The worse you are at it, the more money they throw. Everything else is streamlined, right? That's where Six Sigma comes in and quality assurance. But in healthcare, there's this issue we weren't able to get the dual eligibles there. Okay, throw more money at it. That's how it works. So I went into that, and I got into a call center because I graduated also the year of the bubble, the financial bubble, 2009. So nobody that I went to school with did anything that they went to school with for work. I ended up doing communications because it had aspects of engineering and aspects of poetry and communication, right? I did mass communications. And I ended up going into a healthcare company for their call center. Within a week, I was doing projects, and then I just grew there into consulting and people leading and then being an executive. And I did, to your point, put away poetry for a while. But when my dad passed away, I picked it back up as a form of therapy, and I was very lucky that I had friends from high school. That Mike was in the Army, but he worked also in the arts. He did a lot of fundraising for ballet companies, and he was like, "Perfect, you're back writing poetry. I have this plan I've had for you for years. You have to apply to these journals and get this published. If you get this published, you'll get." So it was this whole thing, and that's how I started, and eventually it led to I found Indie Earth Publishing, which is a local publishing house here in Miami, and they're really intent on building community as well. So we were aligned in our values, and I decided to publish with them. And that's how I got to it. But I did step away from it for a while, but it was always part of me.
I see. Okay. It's always part of who you are. So I'm wondering, we're getting close to a break, but I wonder, do you want to finish with a poem before we take our break?
Sure.
And we'll be coming back. We'll have a lot more to say, of course. But if you have a poem that you'd like to read, maybe now would be a good time.
I will. I picked actually the first poem in the book because it was an exercise on the space between dreams and waking life. It was an exploration of that, so I thought it would be perfect for the show, if you'll indulge me.
Please.
It's called Beginnings. The runway shrinks. encasing Vegas into an unseasonable snow globe while French is whispered loudly across my aisle. Jet lag joins forces with insomnia, and I'm stretched between 2 points of an exhausting spectrum. I can see her, blurry vision enhancing tears a lens, her Russian doll face, all dimples and eyes. She sits on the pink cushions of her thighs wrapped in cotton candy, comfortably alternating between chewing gum and twirling her hair into silken spools on her soft fingers. The smell of fresh laundry intertwines with Chanel, sweat, late night movies, and stolen looks in the cafe. It exfoliates me, her texture tickling my skin, pore after pore unclogged of whomever touched it last. I taste her lips. The flavor rests briefly on my tongue and spreads down my throat, morphing from watermelon to Toblerone. My own yawning wakes me, placing me squarely on an aisle seat in the coach section of a plane dingy enough to be affordable. The stewardess slams the snack cart into my shoulder, yelling out her wares for any passenger foolish enough to spend $12 on a sandwich. Now, she eludes me. Like the Cheshire cat, all that's left behind are her honeycomb eyes until she blinks, leaving me without a memory to hold on to fill my senses until the warning light turns off.
Wow, beautiful. Definitely some experiences of travel in there. For sure. Yeah. So thank you. So this is Renzo Del Castillo, author of the book Still, a poetry book. And you can find that in all kinds of different places. And I understand you're actually selling the Kindle version for only $1. Is that what I caught somewhere along the way? 99 cents or something?
Yeah, so I'm a very big believer that art has to be inclusive, right? Yeah. It should be accessible to anybody. I couldn't make it free on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So it's not a Prime Day special. It's 99 cents always.
Always.
Because if you want to get my book and you don't have, you may not have the means to have $1. I've been in that position, right? Where I couldn't even afford to go to somewhere like McDonald's. So if anybody wants the book and if they have 99 cents, it'll always be available for you as long as I have a say in it.
Talk about community building. Thank you. So we will be back in just a few minutes. Renzo Del Castillo. And my name is Katherine Bell. You are listening to The Dream Journal. We are broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU. And it's Renzo Del Castillo. His webpage is also renzodelcastillo.com. And after the break, we'll have more poetry. We'll talk some more about dreams. I know that Renzo has some dreams that he's ready to share, and also we'll be taking your calls. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to the Dream Journal. I want to welcome our far-flung listeners, the ones that we have on the live stream. We got lots in the Santa Cruz area. We also have listeners in Ashburn, Virginia, Emmaus, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So glad to have you with us on the show. So this is the Dream Journal. And you can check us out on Instagram and Facebook by following hashtag The Dream Journal. I'll be always sending out announcements about upcoming shows and announcements of pod drops whenever the podcast is out. You can be one of the first people to click on it and find out what's happening. So today's guest is Renzo Del Castillo, and we're talking about poetry, dreams, and imagination. And I want to start by taking an in-studio question from Max.
Hello. Hi, Renzo. This is Max.
Hi, Max.
That question you had of if we had never seen birds fly, would we dream of flying, seems to nail a lot of things on the head for me. I think that's the very purpose of dreams, is to make us think of things like this. But the statement itself seems more like poetry because it's what stimulates the thought about this subject. Like we see in our dreams, we see resurrections. We see, I mean, Einstein even dreamed of his theories in his dreams before he wrote them down. We see multitudinous things that we have no experience with in our dreams. I think your poetry is how we communicate it with each other and stimulates the conversation and the thought about these concepts.
Certainly, there's many things that happen in dreams that we've never experienced in waking life. So there's somehow the dream is tapping into something new. Is that kind of what you're getting at, Max?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And I think the poetry, the verbal, life that we give it afterwards is what communicates between people and causes the dreams to crop up in other people also. So you could even dream of freedom if you had never known it.
Oh, I can dream of freedom.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's something for me to definitely ponder on, Max, right? Like, because I always think about, would we know what darkness is without light? If we wouldn't have had that experience, right? But you're right. There are people who have dreamt of like Einstein and others who have dreamt of that, but I don't know how they were brought up or what their experiences were in terms of dreaming of resurrection, where we brought up with Bible stories. I don't know. What do you think, Max?
Well, I think that a lot of people dream of things that they have no experience about. I think it's an original thought with them, and I think that the poetry, the conversations, songs, or stuff that they may write or engage in are the way that they pass it on and sort of stimulate it with other people.
Do you have an example from your own dreams, Max?
Yeah,
Something that you've dreamt about that was new?
Well, actually, I've been on the receiving end of these a lot, but like I've had many dreams in my lifetime, and I did not study dreams when I was younger. And then when I started going to the conferences and listening to dreamers talk about it, I realized that every kind of dream that I'd ever had a name associated with it, like a visitation dream.
Right, the precognitives and lucid and all that.
Lucid.
The categorization.
I thought they were just dreams for me.
Well, I can answer that it was just that I've had this understanding that some kind of relationship of mutual cherishing was possible, even though I had never witnessed it. I mean, maybe it's an ideal in the culture, but it seems like I had never seen such a thing. Certainly, my parents got along well enough. But there was things that I would wish for better myself, and my own early relationships were very not ideal. But over time, I just kind of held to that there's something, and I don't even know what it looks like, but just to know that something is possible in terms of relationship, and I feel like bit by bit, I've become open to it and working on it. But there's something like that's like an ideal, and yet I feel like it was a dream of something that's possible, like one of those dreams where you're just gazing into someone's eyes and it's the right moment. There's no personalities involved. It's just a connection and intimacy. Like those kind of dreams were really helpful for me when I felt hopeless in waking life, just to recognize that there is some kind of connection that's possible for me in particular when I felt so unlovable.
Yeah, I'm by no means a dream expert. As you know, I'm an enthusiastic practitioner.
Yeah,
right. I love getting my sleep and definitely enjoy dreams. But I have read, and I wish I would have written down the annotation to bring to you, but I do believe there were some studies that were done where people were dreaming similar dreams at distances.
Yes.
So let me not misspeak, but when I remember, Katherine, I will send it to you.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting connection there, right? Like, or concept there, right? Where you are, it's like when, I mean, in a horrible example, the nuclear bombs, right? Like people in different countries were doing the same thing or working on the same theories. But when you put it towards dream space, like people having similar dreams across great distances, I would love to know more about and explore that connection a bit more too.
Well, there's a quote that from, I believe it's Jeremy Taylor, who likes to say, or he's passed away now, but he always would say that dreams are the workshop of evolution. Like this is where we test out ideas of where we're going and kind of get new thoughts, new plans, new things to focus on and to aim for and to build in waking life.
Yeah, it might have been a long time ago, just the dream of a full stomach when there was none to be had.
And then I love the idea that poetry makes dreams, and I guess I'm going to generalize to say the feelings that dreams evoke. That poetry can create. The poet who creates a poem has a certain feeling that they are expressing in the poem, and that then the person reading the poem can take on that feeling. So it can be a kind of a 100th monkey thing where you can pass on some of these ideas from person to person using the medium of poetry, in which case it's like a direct contact. Yeah.
No, I'll share something with
Yeah.
you. Recently, I was at I have a good friend who's a poet here in Miami. His name is Scott Raven, and he actually makes his living being a poet. And he was doing a program with FIU University here for underprivileged kids to be exposed to the arts. And he asked me to come in when he wanted to teach them poetry, because they had a lot of Spanish speakers that weren't great at English yet. These are kids that recently got here.
Right.
And when we had the conversation with the kids, at first they were disengaged until I started talking to them in Spanish and asking them direct questions. And we got them in there, and the conversation evolved into misunderstandings, and language is a tool towards understanding. Poetry is a tool of language, right? In terms of how without that tool, you are not able to communicate your intelligence, your humor, the essence of what makes you unique and who you are, your personality. And I'm wondering then if dreams serve a similar focus as a tool to be able to communicate that to yourself, for your inner self.
Oh, interesting. And the language it speaks is kind of a language of images. Like we had a guest on recently who was hypothesizing that because dreams predate verbal language, that's one reason images are so important in dreams. And it's interesting you talking about language with these young people, and that if you don't know the language, you can feel really shut out. So if to be able to speak a language that we can all understand is really important for connection and engagement. Yeah. So there's it's this feels like it's kind of leading toward some an idea that I heard you say on another podcast. I listened to a couple of your podcasts, and if it's okay I'm very fascinated by your expressions and your ideas, and this is of something that you quoted, and I'm just gonna go ahead and quote yourself back to you. Is that you?
Okay.
All right. It says your passions lead to your purpose, and purpose leads to a life of joy. Yeah, and because I've always had a hard time with this idea of follow your bliss. Like, what's the point of that? And couldn't that get you into a lot of trouble? But the fact that you're saying here your passions lead to your purpose, and it's the purpose that leads to a life of joy. Putting that word purpose in there, like, makes it a lot more real for me. Like, purpose is definitely can lead to joy. And that's one of the most important things of life, is to find a purpose, and following your passions maybe could lead you to your purpose. Sure.
Yeah. So that was actually advice given to me by my very good friend, Curtis Franklin. He is the person who wrote the English. My book has a Spanish and an English forward, and they were each written by really good friends of mine from grad school. The three of us are very close, but that was Curtis Franklin. I had reached financial stability and security at that point for myself and for my family. I was very successful at work at this point. This was, I want to say 8 to 10 years ago, but I was very unhappy. Right? I considered healthcare a failed system at that point. So what's the point? I had this whole existential crisis going on, right? And I was talking to Kurt about it, and Kurt said, and that's exactly how he speaks. You'd love this guy. This guy's amazing. One of my best friends. Right. He's 24 years older than I am. We all went to grad school together. He's very wise. And he just asked me what I was passionate about. And I got mad at him because I could not answer, because it was all in relation to other people. But there was a lot of work that I had to do on myself at that point, right? I was people-pleasing instead of just being nurturing, but I made nurturing a transactional thing, right? Which is never conducive to joy.
I've been there. I know that one, though.
Yeah. Right? You can still be nurturing, right? But if you do it because you're expecting an outcome, that just robs you of the satisfaction of being yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't answer him, and then he said, well, figure it out, because your passions will lead you to your purpose, and a life of purpose is one of joy. So I know that I'm very passionate about engineering, right? I like puzzles and problem solving and brain teasers and Wordle and all Sudoku, all that stuff. I love it. Boom, 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 boom. I like figuring it out. I like to time myself, Rubik's Cubes, all that.
Yep.
So I realized that my purpose is tied to solving complex issues, right? I solve complex issues in healthcare every day. And then the other passion that I have is just helping people out. I hope that your life is better, Katherine, because we met, right?
Yes.
Maybe it's a little narcissistic, I don't know, but I can't look at a place and not try to leave it better off than I found, right? And that led me to my purpose of being of service to others. I love the coaching aspects of being a people leader. One thing that I will always say, and if you've heard other podcasts, you might have heard me say this, they don't work for me. I work for them. My job is to remove obstacles from their path. As a people leader, I enable others to do. I no longer do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
okay.
when I was a consultant, and you have to have an ego, right? Because they don't call you as a consultant if everything is going fine. They're calling you because they're facing a problem they can't fix with their internal resources, right? As a people leader, you have to let go of that ego, because as a consultant, no matter how good I am, I can only do 100% of what I do. But as a people leader, if I'm enabling my people to do, holding up a mirror to show them their skills, helping them develop their strengths as well as their opportunities, then I can do, like I said before, 2,000%, 3,000%, 4,000% in order to address this. And that's why I feel like the things that you need to do that empathy, that analysis that comes from art, is so easily applied to the business world. People just don't realize it. They always ask me, are you the executive? Are you the poet? I'm Renzo. That's who I am.
Yep.
These are all aspects of me. I just am trying to be my authentic self in any endeavor that I take. And it has yielded me great results. And that makes me happy. So working in an industry that used to make me unhappy, shifting my mindset, shifting my framework in terms of what am I passionate about, which means what do I feel I contribute to this world? What is my purpose? Solving complex issues and helping others realize their potential, or being of service, etc., has made me happy. I didn't leave to Bali, what I mean? I didn't just quit everything and had an eat, pray, love trip. I'm not recommending against it. By all means, go do that if you want to. But I was able to shift my mindset doing what I was doing every day. And what made me miserable brings me immense joy now.
That's inspirational. I mean, that's the thing about the bliss is where am I going to end up in Tahiti or doing heroin or something, because I have those moments of bliss while I'm doing that. And just to wrap around to the idea of the leader of people, this is something that I think about a lot, is that I love to organize things. I'm one of the ISD organizers, and we're going to do a conference here, and in a year we're going to do another conference here. And I love to organize. I love parties. We have parties at our place every 6 weeks, and we do music nights. And I like to organize it, and just to host people so that they can have great times together and sing and talk and eat good food, and just to make to leave people better off than when they first met me. I love that idea that I can leverage my skills. I can do 100%, but then if I set a space where people can shine, then we can together make 1,000%, 2,000%. And so that's coming back around to community. Yeah, and even
I'm nothing without my people. Because what am I? If I could do it all myself, I would have. They wouldn't spend the money and hire everybody else. You have to realize that. A good leader steps aside and lets others grow.
Yeah.
That's what I believe anyway.
Oh no, I think that's true, and in invitations for seeing what people have to offer, and then they can shine in that way, and then it benefits the organization. So everybody benefits. Yeah, and like this brings me to the spaces where we connect. Another of your quotes I'm gonna quote to you, and it may be a quote of somebody else, but divinity exists in the spaces where we connect. Like it's not just human relationship, which is a really amazing, but it's also divinity. There's divine. There's something spiritual about that. I believe that deeply. Yeah,
I believe that fully. So I think that concept was also explored in Before Sunrise, the Linklater movie with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, right? But I've always believed that if there is a God, a universe, a unifying force, it's between the spaces between people connecting, talking, us right now having the conversation. To me, that's where the divine is.
yeah.
Because I'm going to leave this conversation enriched. I'm going to leave this conversation with more knowledge, probably more inspiration. It makes me feel part of a greater whole to share ideas with you, with Mac, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
It's just, for me, it makes me feel not alone.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and that's a life of joy, like when we can feel not alone and that what we're doing matters.
May we all have a Curtis Franklin in our lives.
That's it, for sure. So I'm wondering, would you like to maybe read another poem, and then we'll just say a few more words near the end of the thing? I just wanted to just finish up with Max. Thank you so much for your question. It was really inspirational to get us going.
You're welcome.
Okay, so.
Sure. I will read another one, also in the space of dreams. This is a series of 5 haikus. I'll give you a little background just for context. It was an exploration of grief, and I was wondering, how can you make grief overflowing without literally saying overflowing grief, right? So I thought about the parameters of a haiku, right? 3, 7, 5, and within those syllables, within those parameters, 3 per first line, whatever, 7 second line, 5 last line. How can I just try to convey grief, right? And I think that if you're limited and it overflows, that's how you convey it. So this one is called A World of Grief. Blurred gray horizons obfuscate still life. Beneath the sky, only rivers. The wind bellows curses, threats, promising rage, delivering sobs. Light shadows the lines etched in lightning, clouds pouring raindrops, drowning tears. Soil in 6 feet deep, memories of what we were, interred, rooted death. A world of moments, and, buried in each moment, a world of grief.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Renzo. Okay, so
Thank you for listening.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in the 6 feet deep in the flooding, and just beautiful. Yeah. So we never even got to any specific dreams of yours, but I think we covered a lot of dream territory in your poems and in your visions for relationship and community and passion and purpose and all that. So I feel very satisfied. Are there any other things you want to bring up in the last minute or so here? And
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Maybe not for the last minute, but probably maybe fodder for a future conversation for you with anybody else or for me. So you were talking about the language of images and dreams, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I recently met somebody with aphantasia, which is that rare condition that makes it difficult or impossible to form mental images.
We had a guest just 2-3 weeks ago with aphantasia, which was. Yeah, so this is fascinating. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm so excited. The synchronicity had this
so it's like,
a guest.
So how do you speak that language? How do you bridge that gap?
Right.
When you have aphantasia, the person I met with aphantasia was just saying, like, when people were saying imagine this, he just thought we were all weird until he learned what it was, and it's just he was. Again, I don't want to generalize, but he specifically was very logical. Definitely a foot on the ground person versus head in the clouds. And it's just interesting. I don't know if that contributed to that personality or he already had that personality and had the aphantasia. But with aphantasia or things like aphantasia, how do you communicate or receive communication from the language of dreams? It's just a question that I have.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's interesting because dreams are so image focused. And yeah, well, you can go back and listen to that podcast. But she had.
I'm going to. I'm going to now that I know that you had it.
Yeah, and apparently, even people with aphantasia can sometimes have images in their dreams, but even if they do not have images when they're awake. But sometimes it's through feelings, like sensations and sound and all that. Interesting. So Renzo Del Castillo, your webpage is renzodelcastillo.com. That's RenzoDelCastillo.com. I'll have the link on the episode page. Is there any other way you want folks to get in touch with you in case they have questions?
Sure. You can always find me on either TikTok and Instagram at renzodelcastillo.author. I'll make sure that you have that information for the show notes.
Okay. Excellent.
I think I'm the same thing on Facebook. For people who want to see what my day job is, you can go find me under Renzo Del Castillo on LinkedIn. Again, still is available in major bookstores. Barnes & Noble, Amazon has the hardcover, the paperback. In the Spanish intro, my friend Inigo says Renzo should be read in the lobby of the hotel, which means, yes, take this book and travel, go experience life, go create, right? It's so easy to tear things down. Go create something, be part of this world, not just a passive observer of your life. The audiobook is there if you liked hearing me read the poetry, because I have a face for radio. They told me to go ahead and do it, so I did myself. And again, the Kindle is 99 cents. If for some reason you want the book and you can't afford more than 99 cents, it's there. Because again, art should be inclusive. And just want to take a second to thank you, Katherine. I really appreciate you taking the time to get to know me, to vet me. Guys, this is how serious she takes this radio show, this podcast, this thing that she does for her life, to make sure that I'm the appropriate person to be here and making me feel so welcomed.
No, thank you.
I just had a great time chatting with you and with Max and everybody. So thank you so much.
This has been fabulous. Thank you so much, Renzo. Take care.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye now. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org in case you want to give us a call. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I'm Katherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at katherine@ksqd.org. katherine@ksqd.org. You can follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal on Facebook and Instagram to find out about upcoming shows. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, Tony Rosimano, and Mood Science, Amy Barnes for the background music, Rick Kleffel and Amy Barnes. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.